Okay, so this is the March 9th regular meeting of the Community Connectivity Grant Committee meeting. And we are meeting virtually. It's being recorded by WebEx from the town of Old Lyme. And we have, kind of a general agenda that we put out because hopefully most of the meeting will be spent updating us on what are the next steps, primarily from bid to agreement. There were a couple updates that we'll get to, and I guess if anyone has doesn't have any objection, let's check for any public. Do not see any. So we'll move along to project updates. And Kurt, do you want to start this or do you want me to?
There we go. How's that? See,
Perfect.
I didn't last long. I'd be happy to. What I could do is share my screen, and you've seen this before, but this will be a good recap and summary. So this is our bidding and construction schedule. So as everyone knows, the bid documents are out there. They are available. We did have our pre-bid meeting. It was postponed because of the weather. So we held that on February 23rd down at the project site. Mary Jo, I sent you over the sign-in sheet.
Yes.
Deadline for questions is March 10th, this Friday. Oh, no, I'm sorry, tomorrow. I apologize, tomorrow. We have not received any questions to date. We've received a few requests from for-profit companies to get free copies of the bid documents, and we have not provided those. If folks want to see them, they can come into town hall, but we didn't feel it was appropriate for the town to pay, which they would have to do to pay to have documents printed to then give away for free. The last addenda will be issued on March 12th at 4 p.m. Again, we haven't received any questions, so there may not be an addenda needed. Then the next key dates are really important. The bid opening, obviously, next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And just to reinforce, we did put some pretty detailed instructions in the bid documents because of COVID, how people can make sure that they plan accordingly to get the documents delivered. There's going to be some signs at town hall, and I mentioned it at the pre-bid. I told folks if they had any questions or concerns with physically dropping off their bid, that we encourage them to call the town hall just to make sure. We want people to be able to get their bids in. We don't want to see anybody, end up being late or something. So hopefully folks will anticipate and won't have any issues there. So yeah, then the bid opening will be that day at 2 p.m. A list of the bids will be logged, and then I will get, in fact, Michelle's going to drop it off, a thumb drive of each of the bidders. So I'll do my bid review, and it's essentially looking at the bids and then doing a detailed look at the 3 low bidders. And I'll turn that around very quickly, because once the bids are received, and this is where it gets really time critical, we are anticipating a contract award on March 30th. So from the 16th to the 30th, that's 2 weeks to the day. That's pretty tight. So there's some things that need to happen within that time period. And Tim will lead that effort as the municipal administrator. I'm actually not involved in that process. I don't kick in until the contract is signed, and then we have the pre-construction meeting. Actually, I take that back. I am on board for the scope review, but at that point, a lot of these things are already in place. Insurance, the performance and payment bond, the CHRO items that are pretty, if you look if you looked at the contract documents, you can see there's a lot of materials in there. Now, the good news is these contractors are pre-qualified by DOT. They should be familiar with what's required. So hopefully there's no learning curve there. But there's a lot of detail in those things that need to be worked out. So that 2-week period is going to be really, really critical to get all those things lined up with the hope that you're able to actually sign the contract on March 30th. That then relates directly to our proposed hopeful start date of Monday, April 5th. So a lot needs to happen between March 16th, when we open the bids, the contract award, and then that start date. That's a pretty tight time frame. Doable, but a lot of things have to fall into place, and we'll have to be very responsive to the contractor if there's questions or those kinds of things. We're targeting. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mary Jo.
Do you want us to have questions, or do you want us
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know that, Tim's done lots of projects for the town before, so this might be old hat to him. But if in the event, do you think there'll be a need for our town attorney during those 2 weeks to review anything?
I would recommend that the town attorney be on standby. Because the things that will be put in place during that period are all contracting type items, there certainly could be some things that you'll want his opinion on. Things like the insurance and the bonds are pretty well defined. For example, to keep it simple, we even included the bond forms right in the bid document so the contractors can look at those. But there could be other things. There could be questions that arise on the insurance. Sometimes there's nuance. Maybe if a contractor has a coverage that may be slightly different than what the town requires, the attorney could chime in on that. There could be questions on the agreement. Again, we included the agreement, all the general conditions, all the supplementary conditions in the project manual. But folks, or the contractor, or the apparent low bidder could have questions or want clarifications. That'd be the time where you'd want the town attorney to jump in and just give those clarifications on behalf of the town. So my recommendation would be have him on standby in case something comes up. When it comes to CHRO and some of the other things, that's a very well-defined program. The statutes are clear. That's one of the reasons why DOT has the amount of material that's required. So there is a lot of detail already in the bid package for exactly what they need to do. I guess it would depend on the particular attorney if they could help out there. But I think it'd be prudent to have the attorney on standby.
I really appreciate this because I know the firm the town uses is pretty busy. And I wrote our attorney email a week ago that I shared with everybody about contacting a homeowner that we have some issues with. I haven't heard back from him. I sent him another note today. So I want to make sure that he or somebody is around to help the municipality with these concerns. And to be quite honest, I don't know if Tim is going on vacation. He'll be back the 20th. The Board of Selectmen is going to postpone their meeting until the 22nd. So, that just leaves us really a week at that point if there's any concerns. So.
Yeah, and it will be critical for the contractor to be able to coordinate directly with Tim as the municipal administrator as they pull together their materials. all with the eye to getting to the point where the materials are all in place and the contract can be executed. So that time period will be really critical, that 2-week period.
So there's a 4-day, I guess, in a weekend where he will be on vacation. Let's see. He comes back the 20th. So there's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday where you'll be doing your review. Tim is back, and then we meet on Monday. So theoretically, we won't know the intended bidder before Monday, the 22nd, correct?
Well, I plan on getting you my letter by I'm going to shoot for Thursday, the 18th.
Okay, all right,
I just want to turn that around really quickly.
okay,
So then, because the next thing that would happen is the contractor gets sent the notice of intent to award. And then I imagine that'd be followed up by, Tim sending him an email or something saying, okay, we need to get the scope review done. So theoretically, I'd like to get the scope review done Monday, the 22nd. Because
Okay.
then that only leaves us essentially, a little over a week to get everything in place, because really nothing can happen until the scope review is completed. We want to make sure that the contractor carried everything in the bid, particularly because it's a lump sum bid. So that's a really important.
okay. So
Step.
let me see if I have this straight then. So you're going to, your goal is to get the paperwork and the references and everything complete by the 18th.
Right.
Were you going to email Tim first, or would you email the construction firm?
Yep. What I'll do is once I wrap up the letter, I'll email that to you and Tim. And that'll essentially have, as I've mentioned before, what we do is we look at, is there any reason to reject the lowest qualified bid? In the absence of a specific or compelling reason, the project will be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, right? So that will be in the letter.
Okay.
And that's the letter that my goal is close of business on Thursday, the 18th, to have that letter sent to you and Tim.
Right.
And
And
then
it-
hopefully,
Does
sorry,
it-
go ahead.
I'm sorry, does it go to the bidder also first at the same
It
time?
does not. That's just for you. Then what you would do is once you as the owner essentially concur, my letter is simply a recommendation to you.
Yeah.
And it's purely that. It's just a recommendation. You would look at it. If you concur, then you would send the apparent low bidder the notice of intent to award. And that's simply just a trigger point that says, hey, we need to get you in here for the scope review. Again, my recommendation would be an email goes out and we'd like, hey, we'd like to get you in here on Monday. We need you, and we could, depending on where the whole COVID situation lies, a WebEx or a Zoom meeting is fine for that. Once we go through that process, that's where we collectively, the town and myself as your advisor, if we're comfortable that he has in fact buried all the scope items, then at the conclusion of that meeting, and we literally will do it in that meeting, we'll know if everything is okay. That's when the contractor and Tim would sort of kick off this contracting phase with the insurance and the bonds and the CHRO.
Okay. Kurt, is the scope meeting something the whole committee should attend if they want to, or if they can?
I think it's absolutely fine if folks attend. Not really critical, but absolutely more than welcome to attend.
Okay.
In
'Cause
case
I
there's
didn't set.
questions, concerns, sure.
Okay. So I'll do a phone setup, just like we're doing for the
Okay.
bid review, the bid opening, if
Yep.
anyone wants to attend that way.
And essentially what I'll do, we'll walk through the project manual. That provides a nice, almost chronological way of just walking through the project. We'll have the plans, obviously. We can walk through one of the plan sets. We won't literally do a page turn through the whole set of documents, but the project manual provides a nice guide to walk through the project, starting with the contracting things up front. So Tim can have the discussion with him about all the various contracting items. Then we can quickly talk about some of the general things, and then the mechanics of the project. And that's where we'll reference some of the plans. And again, the scope review meeting really at its core is intended to confirm that the contractor understands the scope of the work and that in his bid, he has carried all of the required elements. It's a very, very focused meeting in that regard.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just have a question, it may be academic, but say one contractor comes in at, just use random figures, 350 for Hartford Avenue, and we'll do a portion of Shore Road for 100. So that would bring him to 450. And another contractor comes in at 380 for Hartford Avenue, but we'll do a portion of Shore Road for 40,000. Are we going with the lowest Hartford Avenue bidder, or are we going to sort of take a look at the bid as a whole in terms of how much they can do for what amount of money? What do you think some of the criteria there are?
Yeah, that's a great question. Knowing that the grant is capped at 400, the project will go to the contractor that can achieve the most construction within the grant amount for the lowest price. So the
Okay.
400,000 is kind of our target number. So the lowest qualified bidder will be the bidder that can give you the most sidewalk within that budget for the lowest price.
Thank you.
And the committee had a meeting tentatively scheduled for the 23rd, so the Tuesday, to talk about just that issue. But obviously, you know, we'll have had to make some kind of decision before that point. So I don't know. It kind of, it's sort of what happened when we selected BSC Group, as you recall. They were the lowest when you included the design for Hartford Avenue and Shore Road. And we could complete the whole design of Shore Road if we were able to appropriate some money from the Board of Finance, which we did.
Out of the bidders, this is Frank, out of the bidders that were there were 6 bidders, did you say, at the walkthrough?
That's correct.
What kind of questions did they ask, or?
I think it was a wide variety of questions, and to confirm, we stated right at the beginning of the pre-bid that all questions had to be submitted in writing, that any questions answered at the pre-bid were not binding and were not considered part of the contract documents. They were fairly, one person had a question about a potential staging area. Another person had a question about
Sanitary facilities.
right, yeah, porta potties, and that's required in the documents that they have to supply that. Many of the answers were, it's spelled out in the contract documents. So a lot of times these folks maybe have just glanced over things, and it's understandable. There's a lot of detail in there, and sometimes some of the contractors may not decide to pursue the job until the pre-bid. So quite often you'll find that they've only looked at, let's say, the plan set and haven't really delved deeply, into the document. So a lot of the questions tend to be of that nature. So we could say it's detailed out in the contract documents, look in there. And there was quite a few of those. We did talk about the fact that it was a pretty tight time frame and by nature of the locale, and folks seem to understand that. Talked about the work on private property, that it was critical that they were coordinate with the property owners as far as scheduling, timing, not blocking driveways and those kinds of things. There was one question about maintenance and protection of traffic. Again, that's detailed out in the contract documents. Trying to think what else. We talked about the fact that it was CHRO was a part of it, and I have that up on my screen. You can see. And I did stress that the contractor should look at that very carefully. As everybody has seen, there's a lot of pages in there. There's a lot of detail and it's very specific with what is required. So I told them to take that very seriously, look at that closely. That it's required by the program, so it's a must-have.
Someone asked about police coverage or need for police.
Right. Yep. And that's addressed in the contract documents under maintenance and protection of traffic.
Yep.
We're not doing any lane closures, which is good. I can't think of anything else.
And we'll, indicate who was there, but they, the 6 contractors were all from Connecticut.
Any local?
How local is local?
Hold on.
Oh, no.
Did the contractor that did the lower part of Hartford Avenue show up?
No.
Did any of them have a problem with the start date of right at the beginning of April? What we were looking to do? That quick of a turnaround?
No, we did stress the need to start early because of the summer season, and we did stress that there's a very quick turnaround between bid opening and the desired contract execution date. And we did commit that we collectively would turn things around on our end quickly, but we also stressed that the contractor would need to turn their items around quickly, i.e. insurance, bonds, and the like. And they seem to understand the why of the tight schedule. And nobody expressed that they would not be able to achieve it.
And were any of these companies you worked with before, Kurt? Or you recognize the names of those?
I actually haven't looked at the list in detail. I am certain that there's at least a few companies in there that we've worked with before. And again, once the bids come in, we will, regardless of who they are and regardless of how much we've worked with them, we'll check the references. We'll go over all the reference materials and the like, just to make sure that it's well documented either way.
And one of the things Kurt stressed, because it all being a sidewalk project, that people could come and look and measure, take their time and walk the project on their own. So hopefully people have done that.
And the weather has cooperated. So, we had a great day for the pre-bid. Hopefully folks have taken a drive around, taken photographs and those kinds of things. Certainly one advantage of it being a project on a public roadway.
And I will send the pre-bid sign-up sheet as part of our meeting minutes, so everyone gets to see it. I just got it today, so. For the most part, there was a couple folks that were there that had obviously gone to the website and listened to our meeting where we explained the project to everybody. They knew exactly what the grant limitations are. One person appreciated the fact that that was available to them and complimented the committee and the town for the website information. So I thought that was good feedback too. Tim verbally spoke to talking with whoever is chosen about a staging area, maybe a corner of the town lot, where, you know, busy construction park their vehicles, maybe a little corner of that, because obviously the material, the equipment needed won't be as involved. And I think the other note I made was that Kurt talked to them about the sign, the project sign, the state project sign that needs to go up. That's also in the bid documents. That's about it.
Yeah. And if it's helpful on my screen, I have item number 2 here. This is from the Community Connectivity Grant manual. It talks about what has to happen after the bid opening. So this is a summary, kind of what we've talked about, but that has to go to DOT, the list of the bidders, and that'll be the tabulation at the bid opening. The recommendation from the Municipal Chief Administrative Officer, Tim, for award of the project. So that's based on my letter. And that's actually a separate letter that Tim would write. That's not my letter getting forwarded. Again, my letter is just a recommendation to the town. That 4th bullet, written justification, if it's not the lowest qualified bidder. So there's an example of where, let's say, every single reference said they never finished the project, they walked away. Clearly that would be of concern to the town. So that would give the town pause. Things like that really, and that's where the attorney may need to get involved. And then the contractor certification with 31 and 57B, that's again, some of the requirements of, and then DOT has to get, and this would be Craig, DOT would have to get back to you in writing, approving the fact that you can award. So that will all happen inside that window. And many of these things will happen concurrently. So as an example, once you've sent this stuff to DOT, in the meantime, the contractor is getting his insurance and his bonds. So it's not like this stuff has to happen in a linear manner. Multiple things can happen at once and in parallel.
Okay, I'm a little worried about the timing, but as long as I think we have the forms in line and the steps in place to make sure things get done in an order. I do think it almost has to be pretty linear at this point to get it done. We'll do the best we can, but I suspect that you know, it's good with Tim coming back on the 20th. That's going to be really imperative that maybe we have a checklist right there for him to go by. I'm sorry he couldn't be here today at another meeting. So this just for my edification, I know when we send the form is in the bid package, the intent, the notice of intent. Can that go out before we get the okay from the state?
My recommendation would be to hold off till you hear back from the state.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that you can't contact, and I would absolutely recommend that you contact the apparent low bidder and get the scope review set up.
Okay.
That's a critical because you as the owner don't even want to proceed with someone if at that scope review, it's revealed that they've missed major parts of the project,
Okay.
right? Because then they're not the lowest qualified bidder because they haven't priced the project per what's there.
Okay.
It's extremely rare that happens, but you want to know, you want to be sure.
After the scope review is when really the stuff gets submitted to the state, to DOT for their approval. You don't want
That's
to
right,
submit
because
that.
yeah, really what you're doing is at that point, you as the town are saying, okay, DOT, this is the person we'd like to hire. And that's, that list of materials. And the key one is that letter from Tim. That is the request to award it to the listed contractor. So yeah, absolutely, Eric. At that point, you want to know, yep, this is the contractor we want.
Okay. So then in theory, then they obviously know that they're the low bidder at that point because we've asked them to the scope review. We then review everything. And then at the end of that meeting, you're confident that they've included everything. So then the next step becomes DOT approval and they start getting their stuff together on their end. You said
That's
insurance
exactly right.
bonds. Okay.
Yep. And that's where those things can go in parallel, right? While that letter is emailed to DOT, because at the end of the scope meeting, we're going to be very open about it. If we see that the contractor has carried everything, we're going to say, this is really good. Okay, excellent. Please start pulling together your insurance and those kinds of things. We will stress that, of course, we can't sign a contract with you until DOT approves it. That's a requirement of the plan. However, we're going to get this letter to DOT within a few hours, potentially. Please be ready.
And can Craig receive everything electronically with hard copy in the mail?
He may only want things electronically, period.
Okay.
Yeah, we can confirm with him.
Okay. He's been very good about getting back to us.
He's been excellent. Yeah.
Okie dokie. If we do not have any of our final decision from our attorney on the one property we haven't gotten the TRA, we're going to have the special outreach to. Is that something you would discuss at the scope meeting?
Yeah, the nice thing about the scope meeting is a great time to bring up any questions, concerns, kind of in an open format, and the contractor may have questions. I'm not saying that the attorney has to be physically at the scope meeting, but again, having him on standby. So just in case there's questions that arise specific to the contract or something similar at the scope meeting, we'll make sure that we take those questions down in detail and then alert the town attorney.
Since I know that we're going to have a 4 o'clock meeting that afternoon, would you say that a contractor would be okay with meeting in the morning that day?
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
And Bonnie, just so you know, I don't think you joined us yet. We're going to just set up a call in if people don't want or aren't able to physically come in for the scope meeting. They could call in, anyone on the committee. And listen.
Thank you. Thanks.
And we're talking the 22nd for that, Mary Jo, or the 20? I know we were supposed to meet on the 23rd, but we're talking the 22nd for the scope.
Yeah, that's what Kurt has suggested.
Okay.
Now, I suppose if the contractor can't make it on the 22nd, that'll be a change, but tentatively. Okay, all right. So assuming, because everything is in the bid package, everyone sees the contract, no one's going to have any issues, everything's going to go swimmingly. We go to contract at the end of the month. then is there anything we have other than sharing all of that too with the DOT? Is there anything we need to do with Craig at that point?
No, I think once they approve the town to execute a contract, it's pretty much at that point a town project. We will continue to keep Craig appraised of progress.
Mhm.
We have to continue to send in our project reports as we have been doing. And we can ask him if there's anything else he would like. Obviously, we're happy to continually give him feedback, you know, as things move along. And we'll confirm if there's anything else that's required, just to make sure that we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Do you know when he sends the check?
I don't.
I think, yeah, and I haven't looked at this for a long time, but I believe it's pretty much right when we go to contract. But we'll confirm that too. I know it's up front. Okay. And I think if Tim were here, you'd want to know. Do you guys have any other questions for this part of the process?
Have you talked to the finance department about setting up an account for this? Because they'll need to have a separate account for that money. Nicole will know how to do it, but you should make sure that she's aware there would be coming in.
Okay.
I don't think it takes much to set it up, but
I will talk with her.
okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? It's getting exciting. Okay, thank you very much, Kurt.
My pleasure.
You're not going on vacation, are you?
I am not.
Good.
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
going on vacation till the project's done.
I'm sorry.
I'm not leaving.
What I was going to just update folks on at this point is I think you all got the copy of the type of fence that the owner at, I hate to say names, but I'm forgetting his address. I think it's 27 Hartford Avenue, Hurhan's. I sent that over to everybody and to Kurt to kind of make sure that something that looks like that fence would be within our budget. Otherwise, as you recall, he agreed to pitch in on the difference. So, and it looked like a really nice looking fence. So,
And based on what that document had, I think what we anticipated the homeowner wanted based on some initial communications,
yeah.
I think what we've carried in the bid documents is very close to that fence. So I think that'll go pretty smooth. I don't think there'll be any surprises there.
Great. I had asked him to update us on page 31. The folks that have the fence, that's part of it is on town property. And the town attorney had been drafting, I lost count, I think it was 2 versions, maybe 3 of a letter for them to sign, addressing, you know, what the committee agreed to. And then last week, I learned that Tim and the homeowner have been talking, and the homeowner has agreed to move the fence himself. And what he would like is a driveway cut on the other side of his property, so on the south side of his property, to allow for some more parking. I don't have any details on this, and I was hoping Tim could address that. But one way or another, we're going to have to get some agreement, as far as I'm concerned, to move that fence. Something signed off. I have seen nothing. And the driveway cut, apparently Tim spoke with the director of public works who felt it would be okay. That's all I have knowledge of. I found out about this, actually I found out about this at the walkthrough, the pre-bid meeting. And I haven't heard anything more. Have you heard anything, Kurt?
I have not. Tim did mention it to me, and my recommendation at the time was because the documents had already been finalized. In fact, I think at that point, they had already been provided to the printer. It was too late to change anything. So I said, we really can't take any action on it until the bids come in, and then if the committee decided that they wanted to move forward with it, it could be done as a change in the work or something like that. So I haven't done anything
Okay,
to that.
all right.
And I just put on my screen
what
here
property is
that property. So I believe he's talking about a new curb cut right here to create some sort of a driveway over here.
I can't see
I
anything.
think.
Oh, where?
I believe right somewhere in here, I think.
So this is the property that the fence encroaches right now on the town right of way, that lot?
Correct. That's
Yep,
correct.
you could see, a little hard to see, but there's the fence right there. Let me see if I can blow this up even more. Yeah, there's the fence. So I think he's talking about some sort of a driveway cut over here to access this side of the house.
That's what
Wow.
it sounded like to me. Mhm.
That's very
I,
tight.
I would be reluctant to do that. I mean, it changes the whole plans. It's gonna cost the town more money to have a change order. Both for the design and the work, and this is encroaching on the town. Why do we have to negotiate something when they're on our property anyway?
Plus, I think we're going to be setting up a precedent where every homeowner on the street's going to go, "Oh, hold on a second,"
Yeah,
instead of
two
us,
driveways?
instead of just us replacing what's there and improving what's there, we're adding, and everyone be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I want two driveways too." Why does this guy get two driveways? Especially on a tight, that's probably a 50-foot lot. That's pretty tight.
I'm
I don't see how-
surprised Public Works actually approved that.
Well, it was verbal from what I was told from the first selectman. But
I have to agree with Bonnie and Jim here. I think it's setting up a bad precedent, and I don't think it's really, I mean, it's really something we should be negotiating with them. Actually, they're in violation of our rules, and we got to give something back to them. That doesn't make any sense.
I
Plus,
do.
I don't see how they have the room on that side of the house to put a car in. You'll be driving on your neighbor's property.
That, I thought about that too.
And it's back to the situation that we had on the southern part of Hartford Avenue, where we talked about not allowing garages because of the safety factor backing onto the sidewalk. The more driveway cuts you have, the more you've got cars going across sidewalks. Obviously, you can't change that, but two on one small, narrow lot, I just don't think that is a good safety consideration.
And I believe, and I could go and check our minutes, that we as a committee decided many months ago to not add driveway cuts or take any away.
Can we reaffirm that and in the form of a motion, Mary Jo? Do you think that would be appropriate at this stage?
Well, I don't think it would be inappropriate. to answer your question, but again, not being part of the discussion, I really don't know what was discussed in detail. I can only tell you a little tidbit I learned by the way at the walkthrough. The other piece of the discussion I learned at the walkthrough was that the homeowners' children are own a mortuary and drive some big cars. So we're not, my impression was they were going to be possibly then allowing for some large vehicles to come through there. So I was really hoping Tim would be here to discuss it. But
Yeah.
I'm open to a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that, that the plan stays the way it is without the introduction of any further curb cuts and driveways.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 It's 4. Thank you, everybody. All right. Moving on, Tim had that meeting had asked that we reconnect with the owner of the corner house. He's the one that has the fences that have to be moved right on the corner of Bocce and Hartford Avenue. So if it's okay with the committee, I'll just send the owner another note just to remind him that we agreed that he'd take them out. Otherwise, we'll take the fences out and put them by the side of the building. But I said I would do that, but I wanted to run it by the committee if you guys are okay with that.
Is there a reason that he asked for a second? Was there something that happened, or is it just being prudent?
It's because of, I guess, some past interaction with that property owner, just to make sure that it gets.
Okay.
Have they
Okay.
not ever responded, Mary Jo? I just to refresh my memory, to our requests?
He did sign the TRA, but I haven't sent out another correspondence to him. But the TRA did request him to remove his personal property, or it would be removed for him and placed neatly by his house.
All right, so he's aware. Tim just wants just here's a friendly reminder that this is happening.
That's correct.
Okay.
Which I think is fine, and maybe we should look at any other properties where the homeowner is supposed to take action before, and we might just send a reminder to them as well. Thank them and, remind them that the project is ongoing.
Are you saying just a general reminder to everybody or anybody?
No, I'm just saying if there are any other properties where they agreed to move something, and I can't remember, I think there are bushes somewhere, then just a reminder that, because it has been sort of a long winter, a lot of other stuff going on, and,
Absolutely.
it's not a bad idea to remind.
Those bushes, Bonnie, are the same homeowner too.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see them on
okay.
the screen. I'm circling where they are.
Yeah.
Here and here. And we did confirm at the pre-bid meeting that they have not been cut at this time.
They've cut them. They need to cut them back a little bit. They don't have to go away, just cut back.
Right. The hedges, we did not agree to touch those. He is responsible for trimming his hedges. So that will go in the letter. And then finally, we have the family who has not signed the TRA, Butchers, and thank you, Kurt. I have not heard back from them since they called me that I reported back to. They're not going to sign anything. And as you know, we have a state statute that will allow us to perform the work. I sent the email that I sent out to all of you to the attorney a week ago for his advice on correspondence with the homeowner. I've not heard back. But somewhere in that letter, as the committee decided at our last meeting to, to do what needs to be done to, let it be safe, to allow them to safely access the property. So I am hoping I hear back from Mike this week. Do you have any other thoughts or concerns on that issue?
Well, other than you, I think you need to give Mike a timeline on this too. Mike, we're going to be awarding bids by XYZ, and
I put that in the first note.
sometimes you need to remind people. It's just, you know what I mean? The timeline is important.
I did my note to him today. I did say we were meeting at 4. It would be nice to have his thoughts, but I will definitely make that more urgent.
I think we need to be prepared for that. I know there's a state statute that allows us to go onto their property to make it safe, but is there any remedy that they have or any appeal process that they might put into the package that could throw that into a turmoil? Bert, are you aware of anything such as that?
I'm not, but when it comes to those kinds of things, I would absolutely defer to the attorney. Unfortunately, I'm not a good source of info on that. I apologize.
I just, always expect the unexpected. So be optimistic, but expect the unexpected. So.
Well, okay. Those are the homeowner issues on Hartford Avenue. We haven't even really discussed anything on Shore Road. We probably will have to reach out depending on how much we can do, some correspondence to a couple of those homeowners too. As you recall, Tim shared with us that the homeowner, the property owner next to Teddy's Pizza was not thrilled about this. I've never received anything in writing.
I think I mentioned it when I talked to him.
Okay.
Nickerson?
Yes.
He was far from thrilled. Yeah, really far from thrilled. So, but it is what it is. The fact that he's got a bunch of bushes on top property, he was all upset about it. He's going to move my bushes. I said, well, your bushes are on town property.
Yeah. Yeah, because none of any obstacles were on any private property. It's all town property, but they haven't gotten really an update on the project.
Well, all the people I spoke with on Shore Road were pretty reasonable, with the exception of that gentleman.
Okay. Thank you again, Frank, for doing that. Okay, that's all I have as far as update. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Any concerns? Okay. Any miscellaneous? I then would ask that we have them going to approve our meeting minutes of February 9th. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes, February 9th, 2021.
Thank you, Derek.
Second.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so next meeting, we have a bid meeting of March 16th. We'll set up a meeting, make people available if they'd like to attend by phone. on the 22nd, March 22nd for a scope meeting. But again, that'll be tentative. And then we have our next tentative meeting on the 23rd, which I think we should plan on having it, given. Does anybody else feel otherwise? Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kurt, for running through the next couple weeks with
My
us.
pleasure.
Thank you for getting all the documents into Seal. You just made it very seamless. And during COVID, that was really especially
Yeah,
appreciated.
that has certainly helped out, that they're keeping a list and paper lists. They don't have to worry about town hall. I think that worked out really well.
Do you know how many have been picked up? I forgot to ask that.
I don't. I could ask them
It's okay.
for the list. I'll shoot them an email.
Okay. All right. All right. And then my to-do list obviously is to check with Nicole. Thank you, Bonnie, for that. All right.
And the bid opening is 2:00 on the 16th.
That's right.
And I will send an email out before the close of business Friday, just confirming if we do or do not need an addendum. So if no questions come in, at this point, there's no need for an addendum. But I'll confirm before the close of business either way, just so you know.
Okay. So the only one that went out was the change of the pre-bid meeting.
That's right.
That's the only one. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Great. Thanks again. All right, everybody. I guess we're at motion to adjourn time now.
So moved.
Thank you, Patty. She beat you, Frank.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Great night, everybody.
See y'all later. Bye now.
Bye.